Hello, Bobby Torres of Frightbox Recording here to answer this very common question. Do you need a DI box in order to record your heavy guitar tracks? Well, in short, the answer is that it depends, but probably not, but it depends. Now, if you've been following any of the online metal guys or metal producers that talk about recording guitars, you've probably heard about how important DI tracks are. They're especially important when it comes to recording technical metal because you have to be very detailed when it comes to your guitar tones and your editing. Now, I've found that there's confusion surrounding this topic in two different ways. Some people aren't clear on what DI tracks actually are in the first place, and other people are confused thinking that DI boxes do something magical that their interfaces don't. And within this video, I'm going to clarify and hopefully clear up any confusion that you might have when it comes to DIs and DI boxes. Now, first things first, what are DI tracks? Well, to put it simply, it's just the clean signal straight from your guitar with no distortion, no amp tone, nothing. Literally just the signal coming out of your guitar or bass. Now, the reason why this is confusing to a lot of people is, let's say you have an Axe-Fx or a Line 6 pod or something like that, and you plug it directly into your interface. Technically, you're recording direct, but that's not a DI. At least when metal producers say DIs, they're not referring to that type of DI. That type of DI is just an amp sim being recorded right out of a piece of gear directly into your software going through your audio interface. In other words, you're just recording the tone, not the direct signal from your guitar. That's the difference. Now, I know the semantics could be really confusing, but just remember this. When producers are talking about recording DIs for their guitar tracks, they mean the guitar as a source itself, the signal from your guitar going straight into your software. So for example, let's say you take your guitar and plug it directly into like your 2-channel interface and record your guitars with an amp sim plugin. That would be recording DIs because you're recording the clean signal from your guitar. Now, let's say you have an Axe-Fx and you plug your guitar into your Axe-Fx and then plug your Axe-Fx into your interface and record the tone. That's not recording DIs, that's recording the tone from the Axe-Fx. So hopefully that makes sense. When people refer to recording DIs, they mean just the clean signal from your guitar. And I'll explain in a little bit why that's important. Now, on the main topic of this video, do you need a DI box to record DIs in the first place? Well, it depends. And pretty much it comes down to this. If you want to play through an amp or an Axe-Fx while simultaneously recording clean DIs, you are going to need a DI box to split your signal. So in other words, in these cases, you will be recording 2 tracks at once, your amp and just a clean DI straight from your guitar. I do this in the studio if I'm recording a guitar player that's playing through an Axe-Fx or a Kemper or maybe a live amp while still simultaneously recording the clean sound from just his guitar itself. Now, you don't need a DI box if you're plugging straight into your interface and recording straight through an amp sim. This is because in a situation like this, your interface is acting like a DI box. You're only really recording the clean signal from your guitar. You're only monitoring your tone through an amp sim. I think people are getting confused and they think that a DI box does something magical to your guitar signal, and it really doesn't. When it comes to recording metal guitars, think of your DI box more like a splitter. Just to be ultra thorough, another example of this is, let's say I'm in the studio and I'm recording a band, but we're not recording through live amps or a Kemper or an Axe-Fx. In this case, I'll just plug them straight into my interface and record those DIs, just a plain signal, and we'll be monitoring through a plugin within my DAW. What's great about this is that I still have the flexibility to either use the tone from the plugin, or I can later take that clean DI track and reamp it through a live tube amp. So unless you're using live amps or an Axe-Fx or a Kemper, you don't need a DI box. Hopefully that makes sense, because remember, a DI box is nothing magical, it's just a splitter. Okay, so with that out of the way, now I just want to quickly mention why recording DIs is important in the first place. Number one, when you record clean DIs with your guitars, the waveforms are super dynamic and so much easier for editing. If you've had any experience editing, I'm sure you know by now that editing an amp tone is extremely difficult because it's hard to see any transient information. In other words, distorted guitars is a form of compression, even if you're not using a compressor plugin or any form of deliberate compression. And because of this, their waveforms look like a blob on the screen and are next to impossible, or at least really difficult to edit. Now, I learned this in my internship when I used to intern out of a studio called The House Aloud. They used to always record DI tracks, and when I asked them why they would do it, they would tell me it was for editing. Because at that studio, they never reamped. They always recorded through live amps, but they still tracked DIs nonetheless. It is an essential safety net for metal production, in my opinion. Now, the second reason why recording DIs is so important is simple. Guitar tone can be extremely difficult. I can't even begin to tell you the amount of mix projects I've turned down because the band didn't track DIs and their tone sucked. You cannot EQ a bad sounding guitar tone to sound great. It just doesn't work like that. So again, DIs are an excellent safety net so you can always change your tone later. I'm a huge fan of committing as far as production goes, but this is the one exception where I really don't mess around. And I'm not alone, it's pretty much standard practice as far as metal production is concerned in today's day and age. So hopefully this clears up any confusion that you might have as far as DI boxes and DIs go in general. If you're serious about your productions, trust me, record DIs. If you're recording through live amps or a Kemper or Axe Effects, believe me, it's worth the $50 to go buy a DI box. You don't need anything fancy. The takeaway here is that you just get these DIs recorded with your guitar tracks. And again, if you're recording straight into your DAW with an amp sim, you don't have to worry about it because you're already recording DIs in the first place. So please let me know, do you record DIs? Do you find this topic to be confusing? Leave a comment in the comment section below and let me know your opinion. I'd love to hear it. If you found this video helpful, like, comment, subscribe, and share. And do not forget to click the little bell icon so you can be notified every time I upload one of my weekly videos on all things metal and rock production. You can both like and follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Links are in the description below. And you can download my custom guitar cab impulse response for absolutely free. There's a link below in this video's description. Download it, load it into your favorite amp sim plugin, and get right to dialing in killer metal guitar tone with absolute ease. Until next time, happy recording.